Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Breadwinner Podcast. It's your host, Caroline, and I am here with one of my favorite formats of episodes. It's the very first episode of the month, which means it is time for month in review. I'm going to recap February, talk about what went well, what didn't, what I learned, and what I'm looking forward to or considering or anticipating for the coming month. I love these episodes because they give me an opportunity to really think intentionally about what's happening in my business, what is going really well, and really where I'm growing, where I'm learning, where I need to improve, and then how to take that and turn it into something practical for you as listeners. So I don't just want to simply recap my month, but I want to I always try to recap it in a way that gives you some sort of actionable or insightful strategy to help you grow in your business too. And so just the practice of doing that for me always helps uncover insights that maybe I wouldn't have even thought of. So this is a tangent already. You all know I love a good tangent. But if you're not already sitting down, it only takes a few minutes really. But reflecting on your month, that's a really good practice. It can be as simple as just asking what went well, what didn't, what did I learn, and how am I going to change as I move forward? If you just write those down, even just stream of consciousness, bullet points. That's what I have in front of me. I just have a Google Doc with a bunch of bullet points and just a kind of a brain dump of how the month went and then looking forward to the next one. So let's jump into February. February was a typical month in that I had 2 porch pickups and 2 markets scheduled. So I've shared before, but my cadence now in 2025 is I do a market every second and fourth Saturday. So my market is just around the corner from my house. It's a great one. I've been selling there for almost a year and a half now, and I love it. I have my consistent customers who keep on coming back, and plus I get to connect with new ones, meet people face to face. It's just a wonderful place to sell. And so I keep showing up there every second and fourth Saturday. And last year I had been doing that plus a porch pickup every single Thursday. So on those weeks at the market, it was a lot to get my porch pickup prepped, baked, while also prepping and baking for my Saturday market. And so I made the change as of January to switch to the market, and then opposite weeks I do the Thursday porch pickup. And it's been working really well. It just makes for a more manageable schedule and allows me to offer a wider variety specifically for those markets, for the market weeks, because I was at the point where I just didn't have the capacity to add in fun new things like this week I'm going to do cinnamon rolls and pizza crusts. And previously I just didn't have enough time to get prepped for those when I was also prepping for Thursdays. So overall, in the month of February, my very first market was great. The weather was decent. It wasn't too cold. We had a really good turnout. A lot of people showed up. I had about 20 pre-orders that came through the Simply Bread app. So that's something that I changed along with the new schedule in January as I started accepting pre-orders for the market. So people didn't have to sweat so much. If they were used to pre-ordering from me, they could still secure their favorites and then just come and pick it up from the market and not have to worry about showing up right at 9 a.m. at the market and fighting the crowd and risking me selling out. And so that has worked really well. Right now, I'm recording on a Sunday and I've got orders coming in right now for the porch pickup on this coming week. And so I've got those regulars who know they need to snag it before it sells out. So that was great. It was a busy morning. I sold out of all of my bread by about 11:30 at that first market and then fully sold out by about 1. The market closed at 2. So I always enjoy that. After I sell out, I get to just chat with the other vendors and connect with them and chat with customers who come through the booth and let them know how I take pre-orders, how that works, how they can get on my list and order so that they don't miss out next time. And that's been a really great way. I've talked about this in other episodes, but a really great way to grow my text list is when I do sell out, I just let people know, I'm so sorry you missed out, but I do accept pre-orders both for local porch pickup on opposite Thursdays and for the market. So if you want to get on my list and get a text on Sundays when my menu opens, You can place your order on Sundays to pick up, and you don't have to worry about missing out if I do sell out. Now, that's one thing that I'm not looking to change, but I do sell out, and so I still run into that. People are on the ball, like, they order at 3:30 on Sunday when that menu opens, but inevitably, we're just in that stage of growth in the business where there's that scarcity driving people, and it's either just keep scaling and offering more and more, and there's a ceiling there. I just know I can only offer so much, or I run out of time, I run out of energy. I'm not going to get up at 2 in the morning. I'm just not willing to do that. And so inevitably, people are just going to miss out. And I have to wrestle with that a little bit. For example, last week I offered English muffins. I offered 20 packs and they were fully sold out within the first 3 minutes. And I had people texting me and saying, "Can you add some more? I missed out. I'm so bummed." I hate saying no, saying, "I'm so sorry. That is my capacity. I can't offer any more." And there's not a good solution to that, honestly, that I have found. The scarcity is a tactic that people use because it works, where people just get on it and order fast, but it is a bummer. And so it's just kind of something to consider as I'm growing and looking at whatever the next steps of my business are as far as that scarcity and that sellout. It's a really effective, and I think you can handle it with grace and just let people know, "I am so sorry you missed out. Here's how you get on my list to get those texts, and if you order right away, you have less chance of missing out." People talk about you when you sell out, and so ultimately it is effective. Just something that's been personally on my mind recently, especially after that super quick sellout with the English muffins last week. And like I said, I don't have a clear cut, like, here's what I'm doing next about that, other than looking at the long-term growth of my business and what that looks like and how I can scale capacity in a strategic way without burning myself out. So to get back on track a little bit, that first market was great. The second market ended up being canceled due to weather. We had just one of the very coldest days that we've had so far this winter. And we're in Texas, so Texas cold is different. But I put a poll up on my Facebook and asked people, "Are you coming out or are you just going to stay home?" And it was like 99% of people said that they were going to be staying in. The market organizer was considering whether to cancel or not, and ultimately she decided just to call it for that week. And I think that was the right choice. I did have a handful of pre-orders and they came and picked up from my porch instead. But because of that, it was an overall lower revenue month than usual due to the canceled market. But overall, I actually am going to share my revenue number for the month of February. I hem and haw sometimes. It kind of feels weird to share numbers, and I feel like that's a conversation that people really shy away from. But I unlocked goals for my business when I heard the possibilities from someone else. I would not have known that I could reach for a certain revenue goal until I heard that someone else was hitting that goal. And so when I share, it's not to say this is how much I made, but it's to maybe help one of you, maybe to help some of you as listeners unlock that level that maybe you didn't even know was possible. So my gross revenue in the month of February was $4,494. So that is the number before all expenses, before fees, before I paid for ingredients, before I paid myself, all of my software costs. So I do have expenses that I'm covering, and I'm covering a lot of like my podcast costs right now with bakery revenue too. So I did not pocket $4,494, but that is the amount of sales that I brought in just with bread products in the month. So that number, again, like I said, your goal may be totally different. It is 100% okay if selling 10 loaves a week is exactly what meets your family's needs. But you might be in the situation like I am, where you really do need to bring in full-time revenue. And this is just to share that, hey, it is possible. It requires really clear strategy and obviously full-time work, but it is possible. So I share that. We'll see how y'all connect with that, if that's helpful. And I will probably, if you like knowing that, I'll share more about specific revenue numbers in future month in review episodes too. So overall, February, there has been so much happening. It's been a really full month. 2025 has been a really full year already. We're 2 months in. It's been an interesting one for me. I feel myself growing as a professional in a really interesting way that I didn't anticipate, and just being pushed into owning my role as a business owner, as a CEO in a new way. And it's been really interesting. It's been really stretching. Growth is hard. It's exercising muscles that you haven't exercised before. I have shed a couple of tears, just overwhelmed, happy tears, like opportunities, but also just overwhelmed. So much is happening, but it's all good. I'm excited because I probably will have a lot to share with you in next month's March in Review episode. And I'll share more of what I've been working on, and we'll probably have a clear, like, this is what I'm working on and this is where it's going. Because right now I don't really know. And so I hate to be so vague, but I don't have like a concrete anything that I can share specifically. So stay tuned for next month. I'm excited about what may or may not be coming. I'm sorry to sound so vague. One big change that I can share is that as I am anticipating the next level of growth in my business, I'm going to be needing more help. And so you all know that I adore my assistant, Melissa. Talk about her all the time. She is a rock star, but she has been working with me for 10 hours a week, which has been great, but I'm going to need help for more than that moving forward. And 10 hours is her capacity right now. That's what she can offer. And so we had to make the hard decision to let her kind of go. She has her own business growth goals. She's starting to build her own microbakery from her home, and she just has a cap on the hours that she can work over here, family obligations, all of that. And so she's stepping away, she's working on her own business growth goals, and I am now actively looking to hire my new assistant. And so that's kind of where that stands. That's been a really big thing. Um, I have been in the fields. I love Melissa. And so this was sad, but I'm also really excited to see how she built her own business, how she sets herself apart. And I really do think that there is going to be some future for some sort of collaboration as we're anticipating some changes to the Texas cottage laws in the coming year, which could allow like wholesale, some sort of other partnerships. So we'll see. I'll keep y'all updated as things happen. Another thing in February, I have just really been digging into my numbers in a much deeper way than I ever have before. So getting really solid on my profit margins. Realized that I was really undercharging for a handful of products. And so I need to figure out, for example, I sold some muffins last week and I raised my price by $3. And no one batted an eye. They still sold really well, really fast. No one questioned it. But it was really insightful to see if I was selling it right now, I would have a 38% profit margin. And for reference, I try to keep all of my products closer to the 75 to 80% profit margin, higher if possible. And so that's a no-go for sure with the price of blueberries currently. And then when I do bring it back on the menu in the spring, depending on the price, I will probably have to price that higher than my typical inclusion loaves too. So very insightful, very interesting. My pricing spreadsheet is something that I have just made myself. It is very clunky. It's not user friendly, but my goal is to make it easier to use so that I can offer as a product for y'all to purchase, like I did with my recipe spreadsheet, because it's been a really helpful tool. It's just a lot of like manual adding, and it's not easy right now. If any of you are spreadsheet gurus and really great at making Google spreadsheets work better, send me a message and maybe we can work something out together. Because I'm scrappy. I'm not a spreadsheet guru. I just click around enough to make it give me the numbers I need. Another thing that it's led me to do is look for alternate sourcing options for a couple of ingredients, like my mixed seeds. I realized I was paying more for those than I needed to be, and I found an alternate, which cut my price a fair amount. So I'm saving some money there. Another change I made was switching from Found, which is an online bank, to Relay, which is another online bank. Both are great. I have really loved Found. It has a beautiful interface. It makes it really easy to track income and expenses and categorize everything. Ultimately, the biggest factor was Relay offers a Visa debit card versus Found's debit card is a MasterCard. And MasterCard isn't accepted at Costco. So I was having to order from Costco every week. and pay for the delivery or pay the upcharge on the ingredients, plus pay a tip for the driver. I build that into my cost of goods, but now I do have the option that I can issue a virtual card through Relay to my husband, which I did just this week. And he can go and use his Apple Tap to pay at Costco. And if he's there anyway buying stuff for a family, he can just buy some bakery groceries too. And I don't have to pay that extra delivery fees and tips. And so that's been helpful. That's a good change. Another kind of system change is I have been hitting the limit of my credits on Project Broadcast the last 2 months. And so I need to upgrade my plan, but I'm considering whether or not to switch over to Square, which is the POS, point of sale system that I use for markets. Square has a texting system, and the pricing ultimately is going to be very similar to what I'm now going to have to pay with Project Broadcast, because I have so many people now on my list that I was hitting my threshold and having to buy more credits every month. And so with Square, I will have more credits for the same amount, basically. Pros to switching: Square integrates with the POS I'm already using for the market, so I could issue coupons for the market, which would be cool. I can track analytics. It just has a pretty robust platform. The biggest con is that it has to be connected to an existing phone number. I will not connect it to my personal phone number. Absolutely not willing to do that. So I would need to figure out how to get my own phone number. Now, my iPad that I use for the markets does have a data plan, and so I'm going to call AT&T this week and see if I can use that iPad, which has its phone number that does not function as a phone, for the Square messaging. We'll see. I'll keep you updated. But that's another change that I'm anticipating, something that I'm considering. As I grow a lot of the functionality of Square, I'm going to start utilizing the loyalty system, things like that. And so it maybe makes sense to just consolidate and use the text system there too. But it would mean switching my customers over to a new phone number, and just one of those considerations that I'm going to weigh out. I'll keep you updated on what I decide. So wrapping up a little bit, as I look forward, March is just going to have 2 markets and 1 porch pickup due to spring break. Though it'll be another lower month, I am going to be doing all of my prep and baking solo also until I find that new assistant. And even when I do find the assistant, there will be several weeks of onboarding where she's getting the hang of things, and I'll slow down to bring her on board. And then ultimately, she will help me speed up, but it's a slower process when you bring in help, to anticipate that she's not going to be working at her full capacity while she's learning everything for the first several weeks. So with that in mind, I have to really be aware of my capacity, my time limits, and make sure that I'm not offering too much and spreading myself thin in the month of March. Overall, feeling really excited, feeling optimistic, looking forward to our family's annual spring break trip at the end of the month. We always go up to Dallas and kind of have our favorites that we stop at, but totally open if you are familiar with the Dallas area and know of a really great bakery maybe, or a coffee shop, or something that you think we should check out. We're always looking for family-friendly activities or great parks that we can run around in. So send me a message or comment if you're on YouTube and let me know where we should visit in the Dallas area at the end of the month of March. That is my February in review recap. I would love to hear how your February went. What did you learn? What went well? What didn't? Or if you took anything insightful away from my recap, I want to hear about it. So either take a screenshot of this episode, share it over on Instagram and tag me. I'm Caroline Bauer _sourdough. Or comment down below if you're listening on YouTube. I'm excited to hear from you, excited to go through the month of March and share the journey with you when I recap that coming month. If you haven't followed the show yet, make sure you're doing that so you don't miss a new episode, because they drop every Monday and every Thursday. And if you haven't left a review, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple or one of the podcast platforms, it would mean the world if you would take a minute to just write a couple of words about how the show has impacted you. That helps other people find the show, helps us grow and get all connected together. I will be back very soon with another episode, but until then, happy baking.